Coach, what we'd like to do now is play a fun game, or have a fun little segment we call Start, Sub, or Sit. And so we will give you 3 basketball topics, and you could pick one that you would start, one you bring off the bench, and one you would sit. We did have a coach that wanted, on a couple occasions, wanted to trade the sit too. So if that works, you can trade it too. So Pat, if you're ready, Coach, if you're ready,
I'm ready.
We'll dive in.
Let's dive in.
Okay, Coach, just an easy, fun one for you to start. So start, sub, or sit. Springsteen, Petty, and Dylan.
Ooh. You know what's going through my head right now is how like people love to judge people based on the music they like. You know what I mean? Like, oh, you like that guy? I'm gonna start Springsteen. Like, I'll keep it true to my roots. I'm gonna start Springsteen. Like, he's the first musical act I can remember in my entire life, other than like maybe Raffi, which you guys don't have kids, so you don't know what Raffi is. Raffi is a French-Canadian child singer. He sings like Wheels on the Bus, timeless classics.
Yeah.
No, but Springsteen, we're going to start. I mean, like, it's my dad's favorite musician. It's the first album I remember like on a record playing in my house. It truly was something that like my family enjoyed together. Like when I was a baby, my mom would dance me to sleep to Thunder Road. Like, so like there's some sentimental piece of that. Also, like, Springsteen's great, man. Like, you want to say he's for old white dudes? Fine. Guess what I am? A 39-year-old, kid from kind of rural America. But we're starting Springsteen. If you're having a casual hangout, like, what's better than like, and judge me all you want about having a greatest hits album. Like, maybe I'm not a purist, but Petty's greatest hits, like, come on, like, unbelievable. And I'm going to sit Dylan. I really like Dylan. I think Dylan is more of an introspective listen, like better if you're like, breaking down Synergy for 12 hours like you guys do all the time, kind of maybe in your own head, So I'm going to sit Dylan, but I think Dylan's a key reserve on this team. As my brother Chris used to say all the time, enter every room like you're Wooderson and Dazed and Confused walking into the Emporium with Dylan's Hurricane on in the background. That's how you should walk into every room, with that level of confidence. That song goes hard. That's an amazing song.
It is. That was a fantastic answer.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, Pat, go ahead. You're
All right. Start, sub, or sit. A 2-3 zone, a 3-2 zone, or a 1-3-1 zone?
Did you see how much zone we played last year?
It's theoretical here.
Yeah.
I will start the 3-2. 2 years ago, we played a 3-2 that I liked. I don't know if it was the best defense we ever played. It won us some possessions, and I thought it was good. Shout out to Trevor Johnson, who's now the head coach at Buena Vista, for bringing that to our program and having it be, helpful in situations. It was just pretty good for us. I'm going to sub a 2-3. I think there's value in a 2-3 zone. Like, I don't think necessarily it's the best thing for certain teams, but I think in certain games and for other, like Penn State Harrisburg played a pretty good 2-3 against us last year. And it was, it was smart for that game. And I think that you can be really good in a 2-3. Look at Syracuse, look at some of these teams. I'm going to sit the 1-3-1. I do think a 1-3-1 can be really good. I do think the 1-3-1 is more it's more reliant on your personnel than the other two. If you have like a very small guard, they can't really hide him anywhere in a 1-3-1. If you don't have really great length, it's very hard to play an effective one. 1-3-1 is a zone that really is built for long humans, and if you don't have them in your program, it's not going to work very well. I don't care how well you teach it. Like that is a zone that's somewhat based on genetics.
In terms of a 2-3 and a 3-2, are there any sort of characteristic or traits that would, lend itself to, hey, my team probably would be a good zone team. Let's run zone.
I actually do think length is pretty important. Is pretty important. I think basketball IQ and basketball decision making are more important. I don't think this gets talked about a lot. I think it's more important to have a high IQ if you're playing zone. The way I would describe it is this. Our guys at Hopkins are super smart. Like, by definition, to get into Hopkins, you have to be very smart. They tend to be very smart basketball players. They really like exactitude and exact answers. They like if-then statements. All these computer programming nerds. They like if-then statements. If this happens, I do this. If this happens, I do this. They like to live in the black and white as basketball players. And a zone simply presents so much gray area that you have to go with your gut instinct and your natural feel. So if your gut instincts aren't good, or your gut instincts aren't developed properly over time, it's very hard to live in those gray areas. And as a coach, that's where I think personally for me or other coaches I know, coaching a zone, you have to be willing to say, like, it depends. Like our boy Moncho, it depends. It depends. Like if it's and then you got to make a decision. Should I close down here? You try to make a zone have as many applicable rules as will allow it to be able to be played fast and aggressive and give your players, the ability to really excel. But a zone is going to provide, because you're guarding an area, not a man, it's just going to provide a lot of gray areas. So, I think having length and instinct is so important for a team playing zone.
Coach, to stay on the zone topic, so the next start, sub, or sit are going to be, these are 3 actions that you can run against a zone from the offensive side of the ball. So start, sub, or sit, a high post catch, an on-ball screen, or off-ball cutting movement.
I'm going to start off-ball cutting. I think you guys watch some of our zone stuff. I probably talked too much, so you didn't get to ask me real questions about it. And I think we're going to evolve our on-ball, our zone offense some. But we've done some stuff with cutting that we stole from. I believe Columbia did it a lot back when Kyle Smith was there. Where you're going to run the guy through on the baseline on a pass up or down the zone from the corner. Like if you're on the wing and you pass up or down to the corner, we run that guy through, and it kind of gets us to some natural overloads that I really like. It was great for us my first 2 years. It was okay. It was pretty good for us last year. And I also I like somewhat organized randomness in a zone offense. And I think that's the sweet spot, right? Of like, if it's too random, then nobody knows what's going on. And it's really hard to find the 2-on-1. And all you're trying to do is find that 2-on-1 in against the zone. To have some automatics that create a little bit of random cutting that everybody else reads, I think if you can get really good at that, that's where zone offense can be like, we don't even want to deal with this because it's hard to scout. There's a lot of movement, and they're getting open threes on the backside because of natural overloads. So I'm going to start cutting, because if you can build that natural randomness in a way that your guys comprehend, I think that's a really high level zone offense to run. I'm going to sub the on ball, because as we know, if you're running an effective ball screen, and you're doing it well, whether it's against man or zone, then you're creating a 2-on-1. You're putting 2 on the ball and you're moving the ball, and then that next player has a 2-on-1. So if you're setting a good one against the zone, there's a reason so many people set on-ball screens. It's because it creates 2-on-1s as probably efficiently as anything in basketball right now.
Yeah.
I'm going to sit the high post touch for the reason that it's so specific to personnel. Like, some guys have a great feel in the high post and some guys don't. And some teams play the high post and give you passing lanes or driving lanes. And some teams are really smart about playing cat and mouse with the high post. And some teams, you'll get a guy and go like, this guy's going to be a great high post player. He's got a great feel. And then you get him in there and you're like, oh, he's awful in the high post. It's just a very different catch and read than almost anyone plays with consistently now. I remember just like when I was at Loyola, Army had this kid, Tanner Plum. He was a really good player. And he was a high post killer. And it was like, whatever we do, if we zone, don't let him catch it in there because it's just going to be lights out. I don't remember a guy being better than him. It was just like, and you just like think about it, you're like, he probably just came to Army and was an awesome feel for the high. And I'm sure they got him better at it, but like guys just have it or they don't in there, man. And like, I think it can be very versatile. Like if you watch Rutgers right now, Paul Mulcahy, awesome in the high post. Like he's really fun to watch in the high post. You know, he's just got it naturally. So I think that's the one I would sit because it's so unique to certain individuals.
Yeah, and just a quick follow-up is interesting. We did a little edit of Boston College. From time to time, we'll do a 3-2 zone, but on the high post catch, they'll just scatter into a man.
Yeah.
And what's interesting is watching the offenses, running their normal, kind of 3 out, 2 in, Xing into the high post, and a 5-man will catch it at the high post, and they'll all just space or scatter like zone offenses normally will. And then all of a sudden that 5-man is left with 8 seconds on the shot clock trying to go downhill and make a play. And I think defenses are willing to just live with that.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, like the high post, if the defense can bait you into scoring from there without giving a layup, I mean, the numbers show that that's a really good place for the defense to try and force a shot, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I saw that edit. I thought you guys had that edit, and then you've had some edits recently of teams going zone on like post touches, which I thought was interesting as well. Both concepts are very. I think they're good concepts, and I think if you can get a team that can do it well, I mean that's really hard to plan for.
Yeah, interesting stuff.
Yeah. All right, Coach. Moving along. My next one. Start, sub, sit. A steal, block shot, or a charge?
Starting a steal.
Okay.
Like honestly, like I think trying to bake in more risk into your defense to get in the open floor and play in transition is one of the things that people should do more of. Like I don't want to play against a defense. Like you don't want to be gambling all over the place to the point that your defense is bad, but you do want to take the ball from the other team. Like it's hard to be great on defense if they're always getting a shot. Hard to be great on defense if the other team's always getting a shot. So I'm going to start a steal. I'm going to sub a block shot. Because I think that there's just so much value to rim protection. Like my buddy said it to me the other day. He's like, "What man? Once you get real rim protection, you never want to go without it. Like you always want real rim protection once you get it. Like when you can get a shot blocker, you're like, I don't ever want to live without this again. Like I need this. And I'm going to sit the charge for a couple reasons. Number one, I think it's officiated terribly. Number two, I don't understand why we protect 3-point shooters, but not layup shooters. Like if you run under me while I'm shooting a 3, it's a foul. But if I go in for a layup and you run under me, like you get rewarded. Like now listen, like I wasn't a good shot blocker, and I knew that if I took charges, my coach would play me. So I would run around and just flop and do dumb stuff, like tell me, I'll try to cheat the game and play, but like for the game of basketball, like why are we promoting dudes like just running under layup shooters and falling down? Like the game's supposed to be played above the rim. It's supposed to be, a game where the offensive player is protected. And I've never really understood why we don't protect layup shooters. Like if you run under a 3-point shooter now, it's like, oh my gosh, dangerous play. But if you take a charge, everybody goes, bravo. Toughness. And it's like, it's even worse. Like, what are we talking about here?
It's very true.
It's true. It is true. Go ahead, Pat. Yeah.
Coach, in terms of baking in aggressivity in your defense, what are some of the things that you'll maybe encourage with your guys, or some of the tactics you'll use to, try to balance that line between being stupidly aggressive, but also, aggressive to get steals?
Well, we do have we have a defense that our base defense, we try to, contest all passing lanes on penetrating passes. So I thought Alan Keene's podcast with you guys was really good. I thought one of the two key things he talked about that are super simple, but I think are really effective is by strategically putting in determining like in what passing lanes do you want to be out and contesting in, and in what passing lanes do you just want to be like on the nail or whatever it is, right? You can affect where the offense catches the ball, and trying to push them out is so. I thought that was a really good point of like, if you can just make the guy catch farther away, that's really important for your defense. So I thought that, being in passing lanes where you find it to be advantageous is, and then getting those deflections, that's key.
Yeah.
I think hand activity on the ball is really important. It's really important. Just picking at the ball, just making the defense uncomfortable, trying to get those deflections. For us, our team is very well aware of what the defensive rotations are and where we're influencing the ball. And I think that as coaches, you don't want to live in rotations. You want to contain the ball. But having aggressive rotations allows you to get that ball moving at a pace the offense might not want. So I think like when you watch Tony Bennett's teams at Virginia, the pack line is a passive defense in many regards, but they find ways to put two on the ball. They double the post and they hard hedge ball screens really, really hard. By doing those things, you're creating rotations. If you're never in rotations, you're always kind of like allowing the offense to dictate on some level. If you can dictate like, this is the rotation we want you in. Like the rotation coaches don't want is like, I got blown by middle and now we're just screwed. Yeah. But if you can say like, hey, we're pushing to the corner and now he's going to the corner and then we come over, or hey, we're in a hard hedge. And so building in areas where you're like, okay, we are comfortable putting two defenders on the ball in this instance and in this instance, and that's going to get the ball moving in a way that we're comfortable with. And now that's where you get your turnovers, right? So for us, we ice ball screens. We do some things like that. We understand where we're trying to influence the ball. So those are ways that we try to create rotations in a manner that will get the offense maybe playing a little bit out of control and allow us to get some turnovers.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Sorry, Pat, do you have another?
No, I mean, you brought up I like how you phrase that, because me and Dan were actually talking last night with, we see so much of this next defense, and, we're going to interview Will Voigt about the peel switching. And I think it goes to that concept of being aggressive, but then kind of dictating where the rotations are going to be, and then just honing in on those rotations. So you don't get punished.
Yeah. I think it's honing in on those rotations is a very good way to put it.
Yeah.
And Alan Keene, he was great.
He was terrific.
Another friend of the pod.
He slaps.
He slaps.
His hand might still be red from that interview.
Yeah. Right. Pat, my last one here. So, Coach, this is going to be, I guess these are all hypothetical, obviously, but
they are.
But so if you could be the best team in your conference at one of these three, so this is the
Sure. Yeah, I understand. Yeah.
Okay, so if you could be, so start, sub, or sit, the best rebounding team, the best field goal defensive team, or the team with the best assist to turnover ratio.
I'm going to start assist to turnover ratio. With a caveat that, like, I want to make sure it's low turnover and not just like incredibly high assist. You know what I mean? But no, my third year at Hopkins, we were the best we've ever been offensively. And I think the biggest reason, aside from just growing and having talent and good players, is we set the school record for taking care of the ball. You know, we had the fewest turnovers in school history. And I'm a big believer that, like, I've always really enjoyed that John Chaney quote of, I want to be the best at the things that happen most, you know?
Yeah.
Just don't turn the ball over. Like John Chaney, if you turn the ball over, it would just maybe send you back home, you know? Like they just want, so like not turning the ball, like understanding that not all turnovers are created equal. You know, live ball turnovers are especially terrible. But I think assist to turnover ratio is really, really key, because it's, as long as you're low turnover in that, you know, in that assist to turnover ratio, it's a really good indicator that you're getting assist to turnover ratio is a really good indicator that you're getting buckets without the guy having to make a move or a dribble. Like you're getting great catch and shoots, or you're getting layups generally.
Yeah.
Or, you know, you're getting guys to the free throw line because they got fouled, you know, off of a great pass. So I think I'm going to start assist to turnover. I'm going to sub rebounding margin. I think rebounding margin. I think rebounding margin is a misinterpreted and often misused stat. I mean, it's a counting statistic, so it has less value now than it used to. But before, we kind of understood that advanced stats, like, you know, per possession, were really important. So I think just blanket rebounding margin, it can be a good stat. It's not the end all be all, but believe me, I am a very strict and huge proponent of building great rebounding habits. Like if there's one thing we really harp on constantly, it's our rebounding. Our rebounding habits are something we talk about ad nauseum, you know, and we haven't been, you know, sometimes as a program, you're just blessed to have some guy who can roll out of bed and get 12 rebounds, you know. Yeah. We haven't had we have some really good individual rebounders right now, but we've been a good rebounding team because we've done it as a unit. So I think that just the idea that rebounding really, really matters is huge.
Yeah.
And if I'm going to sit field goal percentage defense, because that is, you know, you want to talk about a statistic that you can really inflate. Like your field goal percentage defense might be great because you foul everybody. Your field goal percentage defense might be great, but you're never creating a turnover. Your field goal percentage might be great, but you suck on offense. So who cares? You know, so like, I think more for what we're looking for defensively, you know, we go with like points per possession and things like that.
Okay.
Not that that's anything crazy, but like, I think what we want to do is look at the value or the expected value of the shot the team is getting against us. And we are very big on contesting all shots. We chart shot contests, and we're pretty militant about that.
Okay.
You know, sometimes your field goal percentage defense is bad and you guarded great. The other team just could have kicked the ball in. I mean, it's got some baked in biases to that stat. So I'm going to sit that one.
Okay. That's great.
Yeah. All right, Coach, my last one, a light one here for you. Weightlifting, plyometrics, or running?
I'm going to start plyos. Like, I think our understanding of, you know, the human body and core strength and being injury preventative and, you know, building just the ability for guys to land safely and awkward. I think all that stuff is so important. You know, we have some guys who they can eat as much as they want. They can lift as much as they want. And like, they'll make some marginal gains until their body decides like, all right, my metabolism is going to slow down a little bit and allow mass. So the weightlifting helps them. But the plyometrics, I think, is a really good way, especially basketball is such an important game in relation to your core and your base, your lower body. Like having strong legs and a strong core is so huge. So I'll say plyos. Second, I'll say weightlifting. I do think we make, you know, especially in the off season, in the spring and the summer, we do get really good value in the gains we make by adding mass and lifting well. I don't think that can be undervalued, but I like just in one day, if it was like, all right, we can only do one thing. I mean, I'd probably put plyos a little bit ahead of it in the short run.
Yeah.
And then I think running probably is the one I would sit. We don't run a lot for punishment in practice. I used to do a mile test. Then I realized our guys were like too concerned with the mile test. And I was like, I mean, I don't need you training to be, Steve Prefontaine. I need you to be a basketball player. And like, I have some guys we have some players who like running. Like they like to go for a jog. That's great. We do, we'll do a sprint test with our strength and conditioning coach, but it's nothing like, I don't want to train runners. Yeah. And I do believe that if you practice hard enough with a basketball, you're getting your running in that way by playing, by working on your game.
Yeah.
Great stuff. Well, Pat, unless you had any other follow-ups.
Nope.
Okay. Well, Coach, you're off the hot seat for start, sub, or sit. That was impressive. That was enjoyed that.
I think you had some really good questions in there. I can't wait to be judged harshly by my friends who decide that I'm wrong. You know, I can't wait for the random text that's like, if you don't appreciate Dylan, and that's a real problem. You know, that's gonna be fun. That's gonna be really fun.
I did have we did have another fun one lined up for you with movies, but
I'll do them really fast.
Okay. Well, these are Will Ferrell movies in which he makes more of a cameo role.
Yes.
Okay. So start, sub, or sit. Old School, Wedding Crashers, or The Internship. I don't know if you've seen The Internship.
I have, yeah. As you guys probably know, like all those are from a time when we brought movies on buses, right? To go to games.
Yeah.
I'm going to start Old School. I'm going to sit Wedding Crashers. I'm going to sub Wedding Crashers. I'm going to sit The Internship. I actually think The Internship is a little bit funnier than maybe some people do, but those other two are like
classic.
Iconic films of the early. Now, listen, there's some problematic stuff in there now when you revisit them and you're like, I don't know if that gets made anymore.
Right.
That's not something I want to watch with my daughter. But they are for the era in which they were made, and those are two iconic performances. Like, is there anything funnier than Ferrell working on his car in his driveway and he goes, "Hey, Mike, what's up?" The Red Dragon, she's not exactly street legal. just those moments, those like throwaway lines are so good.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, well, I'm glad we've been able to get a couple of Old School quotes into the pod today. So
yeah, for sure.
That's always a successful pod. So
and we built a whole practice around it. It's good stuff.
Yeah,
that is good.